What's up, founders, and welcome back to another hot take. My name is Asia Orangio, and I'm the CEO and founder of DemandMaven, where we work with SaaS companies on troubleshooting their growth and defining their go-to-market strategies. If you are watching this, it is because you want to learn all about how you can pump up your strategy, no matter what kind of strategy it is that you are producing. If you are watching this, you are going to learn 3 things that I typically do to just ensure that my strategy is sound, buttoned up, tightened, everything it needs to be in order for me to ultimately achieve my goals. I also find that these 3 things can also help you just ensure that the strategy that you are developing is an actual strategy. In fact, I would argue these 3 simple things will also help ensure that you're not just creating like a task list, because that's not necessarily a strategy. So the first thing we are going to discuss are actually, I feel like this is kind of one of those things where we don't do enough digging, but they are ultimately success gaps. So success gaps, this is a concept that basically just describes our blockers. Now, whenever we sit down and we define a strategy, what basically makes it an actual strategy is it uses a fundamental understanding of what is currently blocking us from reaching our goal. What is the thing that is preventing us from achieving what it is that we want to achieve and why we're creating the strategy in the first place. Success gaps are kind of like roadblocks. They're blockers. They are things that are in the way. They are things that are ultimately, again, preventing us from achieving the ultimate goal that it is that we want to achieve. So let's use a really quick example. Let's say, for example, that you would like to reduce churn. For whatever reason, your SaaS product, you've got churn that you're dealing with that makes it really difficult to actually grow the business. One of your success gaps might actually be that you don't have the right features in your product in order for you to maintain the right kinds of customers. So the success gap here might actually be that you need to maybe build more product. Maybe one of your success gaps has more to do with the knowledge aspect, where maybe you don't know if you necessarily have the right features or the right platform or the right product elements in order to retain customers better. Part of your success gap would also be to make sure that you understand exactly what that is. And then if you don't know what you don't know, that's also a success gap. Another facet to this success gap is you actually might have another one that speaks more to the actual paying customer themselves. Maybe one of your success gaps is actually that you don't really know who the best paying customer is, and therefore you keep attracting certain kinds of customers that aren't necessarily the best ones, and that unfortunately inflates the churn, when it's actually very possible that the business itself does actually acquire great paying customers. It's just that for whatever reason, the entire business or the entire go-to-market strategy is not aligned with that best paying customer. Therefore, you've got this section of customers that aren't necessarily the best fit paying customers. They end up churning, and that's what's contributing to the churn. All in all, the ultimate goal of defining success gaps and to get really, really clear about them is to really understand, again, what is currently blocking you from reaching your goal. And the other thing just to know about success gaps is that it's not to make you feel down or make the team feel down about what is not getting done or about what is not done really well. It's purely so that way you are knowledgeable enough about the true problem and the aspects of that problem, so that way you can overcome them and then, of course, meet your goal. One last thing about success gaps, and then we'll move on to number 2. But when it comes to success gaps, one really important element about defining your success gaps is that it also includes maybe lack of capabilities or lack of skills. So you might find that some of your success gaps range from things that you don't necessarily know. Knowledge gaps are absolutely part of success gaps, but it could also just be you might need different skill sets, capabilities, resources internally, and those things are also preventing you from ultimately achieving your goal and fulfilling the strategy and completing it. Moving on into number 2. Okay, number 2, you're going to need to set new guiding principles. This is one of those things that also, to me at least, really makes a strategy truly actually a strategy. New guiding principles are essentially the new approaches and just core values that you are going to embody in order to, again, fulfill this strategy and complete the ultimate goal or OKR or objective or whatever it is that you are ultimately trying to accomplish. You can think of new guiding principles as like the new rules that you are going to live by. And this is where I would say, from a strategic perspective, new guiding principles it's one of those elements that, again, it makes your strategy truly into a strategy. And the reason why is because it basically says, okay, once we understand our success gaps, once we know what we really want to accomplish, once we have a general sense of how we're going to achieve that, the new guiding principles are kind of like the mantras that we are going to repeat to ourselves all the time to encourage us to take the absolute best steps forward. And the cool part about guiding principles is that they don't have to be complicated or complex. They can actually be really simple. And in fact, I actually think that's better, especially for large teams. New guiding principles, again, they are these new approaches, or it's a new way of thinking and being and doing. And it's supposed to inspire action. It's not necessarily a task list that is super easily just checked off. It's something that you internalize and that you embody as you go about and executing the strategy. So I'll give you 2 examples. The first one, this one's a more practical one. Let's say I want to build muscle. One of my new guiding principles might be to focus on protein. Again, really simple. It's not necessarily something that I can just check off once. I need to check that off pretty much every single day, day after day. Another new guiding principle might be to focus on hypertrophic movement, or to focus on hypertrophic training. Using that training, like let the training guide the muscle and the strength building. That might be another new guiding principle that I take on. A third one might be to focus on water intake or supplementary tools to ultimately help me accomplish my goal. I mean, it runs the gamut based off of what my success gaps were, but that's kind of how you can think about new guiding principles. Another example, if you will, about new guiding principles, maybe one of your ultimate objectives is to increase the traffic to your website for your business. So then, based off of your success gaps, some of your new guiding principles might actually look like, well, let's focus on publishing and building in public. Building in public, it's like a new core value. It's not something that I can just check off like immediately. It's something that I have to embody every single day, week after week, day in and day out, until I accomplish my goal of increasing the traffic by whatever amount, by whatever deadline. You know how to set goals, I hope. But that's another way of thinking about a new guiding principle in the context of business. Again, the main takeaway from a new guiding principle perspective is simply this. New guiding principles, they're kind of like little core values or approaches that you'll take. It's new rules that you will set to ultimately encourage you and inspire you to take action. And it is not necessarily something that is just a one-time task. It is something that you will embody as if it were your mantra for the next few days, weeks, months, however long it takes until you reach that goal. The other really cool part about new guiding principles is that if you find that they are not the right guiding principles, then you can adjust them, and you will therefore adjust your strategy. Okay, this is my last tip. So we're on number 3, and this is again to just pump up your strategy and just make sure that it actually is a strategy. And this one is kind of, I don't want to say it's like cheating, but it sometimes feels like cheating. Okay, it is to use a framework. So there are tons of frameworks that I use whenever it comes to sitting down and defining a strategy, no matter what it's for, whether it's content marketing, whether it's go-to-market, whether it's demand gen, marketing in general, acquisition, activation, doesn't really matter what it's for. There's a pretty good chance that I actually have a framework for what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. You might have heard me talk about Brian Balfour's product market model channel fit framework. You might hear me mention pirate metrics, so acquisition, activation, oh gosh, oh no, I'm gonna totally blank on the other one. Actually, no, I was right. Acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, and referral. I don't know why I blanked on that. But anyway, you get the idea. There are tons and tons and tons of frameworks and things that you can use to define any strategy, pretty much like literally any one. That's why I encourage you to say, hey, listen, like if defining a strategy from scratch is something that is really, really intimidating, you can use a framework to help you put in the right mindset of how to be thinking about how to address the challenges or the success gaps that you're currently facing, and then of course, how to overcome them. Everything that happens in between those two sections of, you know, pre-strategy and then post-strategy, that's really what a framework should ultimately help you do. And there's, like I said, tons of them. Everything from SWOT, so strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, all the way down to many different growth roadmaps and just other overall business strategy frameworks, all the way down to the nitty-gritty details of tactically what it is that you want to accomplish. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that really helped. I hope that helped you just identify 3 different ways, at least, that you can ensure that your strategy is as effective as it possibly can be, and also just to give it some life, because sometimes a strategy can just delve into a list of tactics really, really fast without any real actual just strategy in it. So as per usual, thank you again for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, please leave them down below. I should not have to tell you that if you want to ensure that you don't want to miss another hot take, that you should smash that subscribe button, because you know, like, what else are you doing? Like, I don't know, if you're on YouTube at least, like, you're watching content, so I'll wait. All right, just kidding. Thank you so much again, guys. Have a wonderful day. I hope this really helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Happy to get back to you. And if you don't want to miss another hot take, please don't forget to hit subscribe, because, like, you know, bye guys.